guys, welcome to another Slice of Advice. I'm actually really excited, the kind of recurring momentum this is starting to pick up, which is kind of cool. I've already started chatting to some really interesting people, and today is no different from the norm. I'm going to be talking with Austin Saylor, which I'm very, very excited about. But if you're someone who has not joined the Slice of Advice Instagram Live before, basically I get to ask 1,000,001 questions about pricing to some of my favorite creatives around the world. We go into pricing on projects, and then I kind of go deep into what their kind of super special power is, which is really exciting and really enjoyable, because realistically, pricing is not something that we should be doing alone. It's not something that we should be feeling like we are doing alone, because at the moment, kind of everyone feels alone with the whole world. But anyway, let's not get into the dark side. Let's get into the light side. So pricing is a pie that is better when it's shared. So if you're someone who is a creative, designer, freelancer, this Instagram Live, as well as the many other slices of advice, are going to be definitely somewhere to enjoy. So I will bring him on in 1 second, but if you have any questions throughout, please pop them in the question box at the bottom. Secondly, I will let you know I am home with deliveries pending, so I may have to duck out and come back and make Austin talk by himself for a while. And I also have the dog here, so you might get the barking. But yeah, cool. I'm going to invite Austin on. If you haven't heard of Austin Saylor, I highly recommend that you go and make your presence known. Hey, Austin!
Hey.
Oh my goodness, he popped up really quickly.
I also have a pending delivery, so I'm keeping my ears out. So
Yeah, cool. Well, as long as you get yours and I get mine, we're fine. Mine's fruit and veg, and tea for a client.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you for joining me thank you so much for joining me, Austin. I really appreciate you jumping on here, because it is 8 p.m. where you are in good old New York.
It is, yep.
Awesome. So, like I was saying before, I got completely surprised. Austin is the master of making things move. He is an animation specialist, and he is the face, body, and existence behind Full Harbor. So if you haven't popped over to Full Harbor, I highly recommend you do, especially if you enjoy watching things move. So first off, Austin, give us a brief kind of couple of sentences about who is Austin Saylor,
Yeah.
for those who don't know.
Yeah, I went to design school, did the thing where I was learning about art. I didn't go to school for that. It was more like I got there and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. So I kind of stumbled into it. And then that got me into a job where I was designing and a whole kind of a wide range of creative work, branding, UI, UX, web, photography, video, and all of that kind of led me towards animation. And towards the end of my stint at my first job, which was 8 years, which is kind of wild for a first job. I feel like a lot of people do that like first 2 years somewhere.
That's intense.
Years somewhere. And yeah, just basically figured out that animation was what I wanted to do and started diving in and teaching myself, YouTube tutorials and then classes and mentorships, and just was like, this is my thing. I want to do it. And then I started connecting with lettering artists, animating their pieces, and that was kind of what helped give me some lift in my, social media game, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Taught a lettering animation course, as you know.
Yeah.
And I freelance and I teach. Although this year I have decided not to teach, to focus on freelance.
Cool. Nice.
That was like
So,
great sentences. Yeah.
look, you can have as many sentences as you like. You have free reign. So, there's actually probably very few people who know. So Austin and I
connected quite a few years ago, but we first, I think, connected over your 36 days of type and your animation of all of the type pieces that you did, which was an incredible body of work. And I think it was a really good opportunity for people to see what an animated illustration could actually look like, because it was just starting to get, I won't say mainstream, but it was just starting to catch the attention of a lot of people who possibly hadn't seen something move before.
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't the lettering was blowing up, but the animation of it wasn't seen as nearly as much. It's definitely taken off more now, but um, I think I accidentally stumbled into something early.
Yeah, I can say that. I can definitely see that. And then you created the lettering animation course, which was awesome. And I really liked the way that you approached it, in that generally with a lot of courses, you'll sign up and you'll self-pace, or you sign up and then you kind of peter off. And so when you've been teaching, as much as you're like not concentrating on teaching this year, I've actually learned a couple of things from you from your past teachings. So one was actually having the weekly check-in of like, I was up at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning. I was like, I am ready for lettering animation, love in, which happened kind of quite early for me on a Sunday morning. And I was like, yes, let's do it. And I loved that connection and community that you brought. But my other thing is that I wasn't in the course in question, but the one that you did recently where you held an accountability for people. And that was really smart. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, that was actually probably my favorite thing, I guess, that I've done with a course that feels a little different than most creative courses. And
Mm-hmm.
this one was specifically built around building out a personal project for yourself. So 4-week class, the guarantee at the end is that you have a piece that you're going to post at the end. And if you're working on a bigger piece, you may have the first part of it. I encourage people to do a series. But what I realized when it comes to like, you know, we all have big dreams and like a pile of projects that never get finished. The hardest part about that is shrinking. I don't think it's anything to feel bad about because it's just part of the process. But
Yeah.
when we don't have any kind of accountability to get it done, like the reason we finish school is, or finish a project in school is because if you don't, you don't get a good grade and you want to graduate. You have a stick, there's a punishment and a reward. You're going after the reward, but there's a punishment if you don't
Yeah.
keep up.
You're chasing its behind. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wanted to do that with the course. And so I basically said, if you don't do your homework the first time, you owe me $100. I'm going to give it to a charity. I'm not going to tell you who it's going to. Imagine it going to somebody that you do not like, or an organization.
Oh, I didn't even realize there was
I
that
add,
level of it.
and I don't
Oh,
give it to someone I want to give it to. But if you think that it's not going to, if you think it's going to go to someone you don't want to support, it's even more motivation
yeah, massive.
to get your homework done. So basically, yeah, you had to turn in your homework on a Sunday, and if you didn't, you owe me $100. And if you don't do it a second time, you just get kicked out of the class. Like you're out. I was
So
like,
good.
going to attract the people that want the accountability, and it's going to push away the people who are like, oh, I was just going to casually sort of sit back. And
Mm.
so, yeah, everybody seemed to love it. And it worked.
Which
Everybody did the,
everyone did. Yeah, and crazy, 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 crazy. Like as soon as you said that, I was like, and everyone did the work because they were motivated by price, and that's
Mhm.
so smart, so smart. As soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, there's some big stakes, because I'm not sure about you, but I'm really good. I'm really good at doing 90% of anything.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will never finish. And so that kind of accountability, and it's the same reason why I have a coach. It's the same reason why um, I think it's called body doubling, is something that like if you have someone else in a room, you are more likely to do the thing that you've been procrastinating over. Um, like you don't want to be sitting there scrolling on your phone and they're like, are you even doing any work? Like, damn it. Can you just like go in another room so I can just disassociate?
My wife's desk is right here for that reason, although we're still getting settled here in New York. But So she hasn't been sitting there as much. And so I'm like finding it hard. And actually, it's something that I don't like, that I need that kind of accountability,
Yeah.
but it's like it's so helpful. And so if you can recognize it, it's like, yeah, take it.
Maybe you should get like a life-size cutout of her, just put it in the corner of the room.
With a camera, so I never know if she's looking or not. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, either that or like I'm sure that Scott Biersack would be like, "Hey, I'll just kind of like come and stand in the corner for you." Just be like, "Hey, I'm Scott Biersack."
Hi.
Oh, well, I'm completely gotten completely derailed. But
Yeah.
so the choice to go full-time freelance, concentrating on freelance stuff, what motivated that choice?
Yeah. So for me, I've been on this freelance journey for 5 years, and the first year I made more than I expected, but it was very much like a lot at a time and nothing at a time, and just scary. Getting
Feast
this,
or famine?
yes, I hated that people told me that, and I'm like, no way, I'm gonna figure this out. And the first, yeah, lots of years, it was
Yeah.
Easter, but I was doing good work, I was getting paid good money, but it was just the fact that sometimes there were periods of time where there weren't projects coming in. Um, and it was good money for me at the time. Like it was exciting because in my mind, designers and motion designers make 50, 60,000. And then maybe if you become a creative director, you can make more money. And
Mhm.
so I had this mentality of like, I just won't be able to make that much. And as soon as I started to kind of say like, no, I don't like that. At heart, I'm a rebel. Not against everything, but just against things that I think are dumb. And it's like, uh, this is dumb. Why do I have to only make 50 or 60,000? I think there's got to be a better way or a different way.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like starting to think about, okay, what do I want to do with motion design? And so the question was, what motivated me to go back to freelance? Was that it? Okay, so basically, I figured out money with freelance, but I also love teaching. And so before I got to a place where I was just like always super booked with freelance, I was also doing teaching in between. Well, before teaching a course, I was like teaching on blog posts and tutorials and some one-on-one stuff with people who are like getting started. But I loved the teaching part. So then I launched a course, and I basically got to a point where for 3 years I was ping-ponging back and forth between like teaching and then freelance. Freelance was to fill the gaps, but was teaching to fill the gaps. I didn't know where I was.
Yeah.
I loved the idea of teaching, but at the end of last year, I got to this point where I was like, I know how to make money with freelance, and I've gotten better over the last few years, but I haven't given myself a chance to really focus on it.
Mhm.
And as we can all get, I'm sure that what is it called? The shiny object syndrome, like major.
Yeah. Me too.
This was the first year that I decided like total focus on freelance. Can I double my income if I completely focus? I just it's this hypothesis. I just read recently that like plans are just guessing. My plan
Mhm.
is to focus on freelance because I'm guessing that if I do that, I'm going to get the result that I want.
I need to write that down.
No. And,
You watch, it'll be out there. Plans are just guessing.
so yeah, I just decided that I'm going to focus and give myself that opportunity to give like a year is going to fly by. Why not go for it? And so I said, actually, it wasn't even the original. I told my wife, I was like, I think I want to do this. Do you support me? Like shift because I've been working so hard on courses and a membership. Um, what do you think? And she was like, yeah, I believe in you. I think you can do it. And if you bring in more money, that's great. We'll save it and figure out what we want to do with that. Um, so, anyways, here we are, not saving as much as we could because we moved to New York City and we're spending more, but that's part of pivoting and figuring out what you want to do. And
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I think I'm going off on tangents here as I do,
No,
but
but that's what this is all about, because realistically, like as much as we talk about money and pricing and the cost of us as creatives and freelancers, money is worthless if it sits in a bank and just like is accruing and all that sort of stuff, unless you're using it to live and fund the life that you're trying to chase, which would have been you moving to New York City. Unless you're utilizing it for its use, which is to be used in exchange for goods, services, and enjoyment,
Yeah.
then there's no point.
Yeah.
So you can sit there and go, oh, we're probably not saving as much, but we're also living a
Yeah.
bigger life than you were when you were before.
Plan of make more money was make more money so I can save it up so that I can decide that if at the end of that year I want to go back into courses, that I have a little more buffer to spend the time and energy to make a great product rather than feeling like I got to make this super fast
Yeah.
and as fast as possible because I'm running out of money, you know? And so if you have a buffer of money, you have more time and energy you can put into something. So that was the original goal. It turned into, okay, we're making more money. Instead of putting it all away to do the teaching next year, we decided that, I mean, a whole slew of things happened, but we're here in New York. And we're like, that's how we're going to use some of that money now. We're still saving money, which is cool.
Yeah.
But without the goal of 200,000. Oh, I don't know if I've said that yet, but yeah, that's my goal is to make 200,000 this year.
Yeah, the 20K project, the 200K project, which I am super excited for. Anyone who wants to actually learn a little bit more about the way that Austin is doing this 200K project, I actually highly recommend you get on his mailing list because he kind of shows a couple of little nuggets with the emails that he sends out and kind of what he's planning. But my favorite part about this is two parts. One, you're putting a number on it, which I think putting a number on it scares a lot of people. And I can definitely attest that putting a number on something scares me. I was actually talking with Maya DeLeon the other day, and we're talking about, okay, well, what do you want as a kind of definer of success? And I said, by end of next year, I would want to have 1,000 students across my courses and across my teaching and across my group coaching and one-on-one coaching and whatever I can offer to my students. And I want to have 1,000 students by the end of next year. And she goes, well, I think that's attainable. I'm like, yeah, but there's a difference between if I set that goal there and then I beat it early, it's a better feeling for me than putting something that I don't think is attainable at all. So I think it's kind of finding that balance and putting numbers out there.
Totally.
But
yeah. To go piggyback on that, there's all sorts of different ways you can approach big goals. And some people are really motivated by the biggest goals. I've heard it said like you won't text a thing to enter a whatever
giveaway or whatever
giveaway to win a bottle of water, but you would jump through or over a brick wall to get a vacation to Thailand. Like you're gonna be willing to put more effort in for something that's more exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
But and I can attest to this. There have been years where I've personally set a goal of like 250,000 and hit like 90.
Yeah.
Demoralizing. And
so I feel like it shakes me more for the next attempt than it's hard. It's such a hard thing.
It's a journey, and I think that anyone who has if you've never set a goal, set a really big goal and see everything's an experiment. You're probably not going to hit your really big goal. Like that's the likelihood is you're not going to hit a super high goal if you don't have evidence to prove that you're going to get there. But the point of it is to push you forward, to pull you forward, and experiment and go, did it work? Did it not? If it worked,
what can I do different?
If it got you further along that path that you want to go, that's awesome. Then it did a good job of moving you closer to what you want. And if it, now you just know that's a data point. It didn't. That maybe big goals don't work for me, or maybe I did something wrong. How do I approach it differently? And so that's like, it's just. There's no one specific way to do, but you will figure out what works for you. over time, and it's
Mm.
fine. Anyways, yeah, that's my
Yeah,
soapbox.
no, the other part that I love about it is the manifestation aspect. So the more that you repeat it and say it out loud and say, this is what I want to do, the more it will kind of come back to you. And I've been known to be a little bit woo-woo at times, but I also believe that there's a difference between being woo-woo and being like just putting out the intention and letting it kind of circulate in the air and come back and smack you in the face.
Yeah,
Um, and
I
I love that you say that.
the idea that manifestation is a thing. I don't know if it's a mysterious force in the world, or a thing that when you like when I say that I want to make 200, I'm going for 200,000 this year, it gets in the ears of other people. It gets in my ear. It makes me think differently.
Mm,
Other people think differently of me. You know, it shakes things up. Um, and so I'm happy with however it works. It's doing something.
mm. It's kind of that whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so like the more it kind of pushes you forward.
Yeah,
I love that. It's awesome. And I did the same thing. I've done the same thing with a couple of other projects and intentions myself. You know, wanting to speak at conferences and there's things that are in the works for that. And the more that I talk about like speaking at conferences or communicating with people, that I want to be recognized as the Aussie pricing girl, the one that you come to when you work out how to and what to price your dollary doos for. Like it's the more that I put it out there, the more that it's going to keep coming back. But yeah, yeah, I love that there's manifestation in that in whatever way, shape, or form it kind of comes.
yeah. I actually have a newsletter queued up to go out probably on Thursday that has to do with this, like basically asking is the first part of getting. Um,
I
uh,
love
that's
that.
that's happened twice to me. It, like my two biggest shifts in my career, I left my job and went out to go to freelance. So I went from I'm kind of a catch-all creative person at a software company to telling the world that I am a motion designer and I'm freelance and I'm available for work. Um, and I asked for what I wanted, which was I want work. I didn't ask publicly saying, give me work. I just said, hey, I'm freelance, I'm freelance, I'm freelance. This is what it's like to be freelance. Here's what it looks like to be freelance. This is what I did today as a freelance motion designer. I'm a freelance motion designer. Did you know that? Like very vocally saying, like asking for what I want via telling people what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so that, and it worked. Like that helped me kind of float the boat until I figured out, kind of got my legs, my freelance legs. Um,
Was that a slight pun on Full Harbor? Like
yes,
you floated the boat and got your sea legs?
yes, exactly. It's becoming more and more natural to me, and I almost don't know this when I'm doing it.
I'm the same with food.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's just serve it up in the way that the client can digest it. And I'm like, oh, I did it again. Oh no.
Yes. Um, that's great. So the second time that's I've done the asking is, well, I said I'm going to make 200,000 this year. That's my goal, and I put it out into the world very publicly. I don't think everybody needs to do it quite as publicly as I did, but I'm going to say that it's worked, and it has, things have really picked up because of that.
That's
Um,
great.
like very directly, not like maybe sort of helps. You know how like you start posting on Instagram and maybe things start coming your way faster, or you whatever, like you never know exactly what's moving the needle. I
Hmm.
know for certain that like 70, 60 or 70%, nope, maybe 80% of what I've made this year came from me posting that I wanted to make 200,000 this year. It just
Okay.
it's
Make your intention known.
I know. And I can't say that that's going to be the case for everyone. I just know that that's helped. That worked for me.
Hmm.
Situation. Uh, yeah, people
So
like my hypothesis is people like we like helping each other out,
yes.
and if no one knows what you want, no one knows how to help you. Um, in fact, complaining is actually an interesting way of asking, and I don't like. I'll get to a positive
I'm
point.
interested.
What I complain about that I get help with is holy crap, After Effects sucks. Why in the world does it do this? And I'll post that on Twitter or Instagram. And then I get responses of like, oh yeah, you can fix that by doing this, this, and that. And it's like, people love to help. I get the most help when I'm either, and I don't mean to do it in like I just like complaining, because I think complaining isn't very fruitful usually.
Mhm.
But I'm putting it out there in form of like, I need help with this. And yeah, anyways, that's just an interesting observation. I think we like helping each other, and when you let your intentions be known to others, then it it gives people the opportunity to help you in a very specific way.
For sure. I actually used to have a section of my newsletter that I used to send out to all my clients. I don't do it anymore. It's just not something that I do anymore. But I used to have a section which was like, what I'm concentrating on this month. And it was like murals, illustrations, and this. How can you help me? If you don't have a job or a project ready for me, suggest me to a friend. Suggest
Yeah.
me to someone. And it was actually like saying it straight out and out loud. It was just like, this is what I would like. It's up to them to go, oh yeah, I know I want to come to the party. I want to choose to help you, because people like to feel like they're being helpful. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic when you actually ask for what you want.
Hmm. Totally.
Sounds simple.
It is. It's very simple, but it's like, I think a lot of advice that we get, like as creative people, we like to like come up with creative ways to do things. Sometimes it's literally just like, if someone's had success with something and they give you a formula for it, like try it. I don't know. I've
Crazy.
happening to me lately. Even like, I've been following a couple people that have grown like very quickly on Twitter, and I haven't tried to like done any active growing of my Twitter account. Followed some of their advice, and they were like, "Here's a couple things I've done, had to do with threads," and I was like, "I'm gonna try that." Literally copy and pasted their thing into mine, but just changed like the content into like, oh, I'm gonna say, "Hey, I'm Austin," instead of "I'm Blake," you know. But I'm like taking something that worked for someone else and saying like, I'm not going to be too cute or creative with this, but I'm going to give good advice using their formula. And it was like, I haven't gotten like a slew of new followers in a few years. And this one post that I made, I got like 80 followers. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Sometimes just doing what works and what other people say that works. And it's as simple as that. I'm like,
I think that intrinsically, sometimes we, instead of looking at the thing that someone else is doing, we look for flaws. We look for why it won't work, because we are rehearsing trauma, getting a little bit dark, but we're rehearsing the failure so that we're ready if it does, without recognizing that it actually probably does work. Like we're thinking that if we're ready for it to suck or ready for it to not work, we'll be more ready when it doesn't work. And then we put all this energy into being prepared, but not the same amount of energy into it actually having a fighting chance to work.
yeah. And the more you've tried things and the more that you don't see success, the easier it is to just like prepare yourself for the landing rather
Yeah.
rather than believing it's going to work. Um, but I think I'm just generally a positive, non-cynical person.
Me too.
I've become more cynical over the years, I believe.
See, now when you say that, I just imagine you like, just get off my lawn. It's not gonna. I don't think you're anywhere near as cynical. Like, we just need to do like the aging filter, like 90-year-old angry Austin. Oh my God, angry Austin, terrible. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Oh, we have some connect. Oh no, yep.
Oh, hello.
Wow, now you just look like you're in a fish. Oh, anyone who's joining,
filters.
it's definitely a look for you, Austin.
There we go.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, Austin.
I'm back.
So with the setting that goal of the 20K, has it changed the way that you price your work and you like your mentality when you go into pricing your projects, and how has it changed it?
Small correction, 200K. You said 20.
200K,
Um,
out of zero.
yeah, out of zero. Yeah, so I did like a 30% increase on my day rate to start off, because I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna, it's gonna be a lot easier if I land projects with a higher day rate. I don't love doing a day rate. That's not
Yeah.
my favorite thing. However, to me, I've considered like, well, this year I had a few projects lined up for January and they all fell through. So I'm like, all right, great start. Literally 0 hours of client work in January. Like, this is going to be a
Yeah.
little bit of an uphill battle. Now I've got 11 months to hit 200K.
Yeah.
But fine, stuff will work out. I will figure this out. Um, and so things started picking up. But what ended up coming to me was day rate projects, but they were saying yes to my increased day rate, and I was like, whoa, that's like a that's like a 4 week booking at 30% higher than what I used to charge. That's guaranteed work. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, say yes to that. And then I was also saying yes to some other projects that weren't day rate on top of that, because I knew like, well, that's just, a normal day. My goal is to make more money. I didn't make any in January. I'm going to make it up, and started like double booking. And I was very busy for a month, but I more than made up for January in April. It was,
Mm-hmm.
so anyways, yeah, I very quickly became confident in my higher day rate because clients were saying yes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there were a few that said no, but it's kind of like, I recently, I've been thinking about this one a lot too. Um, whether your day rate is 300 or 900, you will have clients say no. And it
Mm-hmm.
feels a lot worse to be told no at 300 rather than 900. Sure, not everybody can afford a $900 day rate or whatever insert amount for a project.
Yeah.
And if you're getting rejected at smaller amounts of money, it like hits harder, it sucks more,
Mm-hmm.
and they say yes, it's not as exhilarating or as profitable. And so it's kind of
Yeah.
like the shit end of both is on the low rates. Um, the shit pie. You want an apple pie. You want like
Yeah.
Honey Crisp. I don't know what makes a good apple pie.
Granny Smith.
Granny Smith. Okay. You want
Mm-hmm.
pie, and that's going to be more expensive. Um, so, anyways, yeah, I've definitely come at pricing a lot more confidently with that new goal.
Mm-hmm.
For context, I've been designing for a number of years and animating like 8 years at that other job. Zero, like my confidence level in myself was like rock bottom low.
Yeah.
Um, and leaving that job, I was like, oh, it's your turn to take over. I'm gonna go get the door real quick.
Go and get the door. Well, for the wonderful people that are actually on the live, I would actually like to open it up and say, hey, if any of you have any questions about pricing or about pricing creativity in general, please pop on a question at the bottom. I would actually really like to answer any questions while we have Austin answering the door, because I'm assuming being in New York, I don't know why I imagine him being in a larger building, but I just do. Maybe he's not. I don't know. So if anyone's got any questions, I really love to. Or if you'd like to talk to the disembodied arm that's coming out of the
Yeah,
screen.
successful delivery.
Excellent. Well done. What did you get?
Dinner for Rachel. She's
Nice.
So I was like, I will go get the door for you. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Nice. So we were talking a bit about the confidence level and pricing, because you do have that. And I like to kind of refer to them as inevitabilities rather than goals, because it's just like it's going to happen. Like it's just I'm putting the things in place. That's where we're heading. And I also was wanting to bring up, with the clients that say no, or the knockbacks or the rejections, I actually kind of end up thinking of them as steps. And, you know, if you're sitting there and you're going and getting yeses, you're just going to be rolling straight. But if you're getting no's, then it's going to help you kind of, and it's going to be the difference between being here and here.
Yeah. You're getting yeses to every proposal you send
You're
out.
too cheap.
Yeah, go higher. It's a very practical thing to go. I'm always going to up my rate a little until you start hitting a ceiling.
Yeah.
And then it's not that that's the end all be all ceiling. There just might be like new clients to go after, or new industries, or a
Different ways to price.
new approach to it. Yeah, like there's so much creativity we can imbue into pricing and the business of creative services that, yeah.
Yeah, and
So
you're
like,
actually someone that got me onto Blair Ends and the
oh,
Two
nice.
Bobs podcast, and the one that you and I feel like we've probably listened to it like a million times now. The 8 different ways of pricing, and the one sentence that sticks in my mind all the time, which is the act of pricing should be as creative as the work itself.
Mm.
I
I'm not
I
sure
think
of
if you,
specifically, unless that's the
I
one
think. Yeah, it's the one. Yeah, I think it's the one you sent me. Which is like talking about like making your pricing a creative act and making it a little bit different. And like the idea that there was a taco place that was needing design work and their bill was 10K, but they could only afford 5, so they made the rest of the 5 as an account for all of their employees to have tacos. So like having it as a creative act of like how to make up the difference between the quoted price of the value that you're delivering, and what is actually able to be paid. And the idea that no is intellectually lazy, that you can try and find a different way to make up the deficit rather than going, well, you don't want to pay me what I'm worth, screw you. It can instead be okay, so what can you afford and where can we make up the difference? And with what other currency have you got back in there? What are the things that you can pay with back in there?
Yeah,
You know, that's gotten me a lot of wine, I'll be honest. It's gotten me a lot of wine.
that's great. I need whiskey clients or yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually hopefully talking to Matt Vagotis in a couple of weeks, and I'm sure the man is got a couple of tricks up his sleeve when it comes to getting clients that you'd actually use their products. And if it came to it, they can use that as currency, like
Literally,
beer, fishing lures.
yeah. Him and his like beer can, crazy beautiful beer can design.
Oh, so gorgeous.
Yeah,
Matt, if you're watching, we're crushing on you. It's fine.
yeah.
So one of the things that I've been doing probably more and more lately is actually going back over projects once they've completed and actually working out how could I have priced differently, and like, was it worth it? Is that something that you do as well?
Yeah, the way I do that is no matter if it's a hourly day rate, well, I don't really do any hourly work, but day rate or project price, I'm always tracking it. I use Toggle. It's a great tool.
You're a greater person than me then. You're a greater designer than me because I'm terrible with time tracking. That's why I stopped working in like studios, because I hated I hated doing my times at the end of the day. I'm like, no, I don't want to.
Toggle is actually, it's the only thing I've liked. I've tried so many different methods. Toggle is just like the way it's built. It works for me. Love it. And it's very easy to attribute your time to a project and that project to a client. And then you can filter later by client or by project and by date and all this stuff. It's just easy and it works. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess I've been using it for like a couple years and I'm just like, I'm in it. It's in my workflow now.
Nice.
It also asked
Which
me
I think is what it is. It's habit, because if you're
yeah,
trying something new, you have to get into that habit of doing it. I mean, I've got my so FreshBooks that I use. I use that in a way that I've got a couple of clients that are hourly, and it's strictly because the deliverables and the outcome isn't something that we can kind of put a value on or put a price on. It's literally just like hey, we might have some work for you this week, we might not. Your name is around the office, so anyone can kind of dip into the pool of hours.
Yeah.
Um, you are a spinning circle, so that's fun. Oh no, you're back! Yay!
I was about to type in the chat see if anybody else, if we were frozen.
Everyone's frozen in time. That's it. It's done. So,
Yeah. Oh,
what do you find you discover when you go back and price? Oh, when you go back and see, like,
yeah.
how profitable or how successful a project is?
So I've been tracking the projects that I do, where I get those projects from, like what person did I have a friend refer me to this new studio or this new client. I track the projects I'm doing, how long they took, like hours and calendar time. So it could be like I only put 10 hours into a project, but it lasted for 4 months. Like, eh. I have
It happens.
a few things I can evaluate whether or not I think that that project or that client is worth it. But it's fascinating to have time, like how much time did I work on something versus how much did I make, as opposed to that felt like it lasted forever. Ugh, I hate doing that. But then I go back and I'm like, oh, I actually only spent 5 hours on that and I got paid, $3,000. It's like, okay, for some reason,
Maybe that was worth it.
I didn't like it, but I was wrong. Like the data shows, like unless I forgot to punch it in, which I rarely do.
Hmm.
Anyway, so that to me has been the most fascinating thing, is just always knowing how many hours I'm working on projects. So well, there's two things I like about that. One is to evaluate whether or not it's worth doing it again. Another reason is just to see uh, brain fart, to see brain fart. This is a brain
Okay. Yep.
in real time, folks. It's real. What's another good reason for it? I literally have a really good one, but I don't.
To see if it was worth the time,
Oh,
if it was worth,
I,
if it's something that you take on again.
here's it. I also so I have another column that's lifetime value for each of my clients,
Ooh.
and so I can track how much money I've made from them, but also, hey Matt,
Hi, Matt. You
that's
missed us talking about you, mate.
that's super weird. Um, but yeah, I have a column for lifetime value, just like the dollar amount that each client has brought, as well as like I can see who's helped bring in that much money. And so like if Matt sent me a project and that project got me $20,000, now Matt is associated in my CRM of like he's been super valuable to me. It's definitely somebody I want to keep up with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I can see that. But then also with the clients, I can see how much like dollars per hour per client, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if one project, I ended up making $50 an hour, and that's like way below my normal like threshold of hourly ROI. But that was like an outlier. Most of my projects, I make $175 an hour on their projects. I can weigh it out, and the overall average lifetime value for that client is in my spreadsheet. So it's easier to do that when you know exactly how many hours you're putting into a project.
Yeah. That makes sense. I
It feels
mean,
like a lot to put in, but it's like so helpful and interesting to evaluate who's worth doing business with it. You know.
yeah. And also, I thought about it would be pre-pandemic that I was really thinking about that, because this is kind of the way that we're working at the moment. Is I was about to launch a kind of a incentive program which was called Murals for Moe. And so if someone got me a mural job, I would get them a bottle of Moe. So it'd be like well, if you can get me a job, here's some champagne and we can pop it together when the job actually goes through.
Yeah.
So like if you can recognize where your work's coming from, and also recognize that you're not necessarily pitching to that person, you're pitching to that person, and then by Matt, um, pitching to that person, but then also like um their community, the people that, like, and it goes back to people want to help. It may not be that it's them that can help, but they can then kill two birds with one stone, suggest you to someone, they're helping you, they're helping the friend who they've suggested you to, and they feel, you know, all the good juju of helping others.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you've got one person who keeps recommending work to you or keeps sharing you with their community, and you start getting more referrals because someone else is selling you, great, massive, nurture that relationship, nurture that one. And it's not opportunistic, because I think it gets really, people start thinking, oh, well, you're just talking to that person because it's more like opportunistic to, and more valuable monetarily to talk to them. Well, no, they've shown that they're interested. They've shown that they've got that connection with me. So it's great.
It's definitely worth being cynical about and questioning whether or not, like, if you like think about yourself, it's harder to judge somebody else and what they're doing. But like, if you're in that situation, would you feel like you're taking advantage of somebody, or fostering a relationship where they're connecting you with people who need your services? You know, like,
Yeah.
It's,
I think the alternative is that, you know, you get connected with someone and they suggest it, and then you just ghost that middle person. They're probably sitting there going, oh, why did I even bother? Like,
yeah,
I've now just like pass off, and it's, you know, pass the ball, and there's nothing. It's important to nurture those relationships, even if it's just like, I had one this morning where I haven't heard from her for like 2 months, a month or so, and that's because, you know, Australia just keeps going on the lockdown limbo. And so, and she's homeschooling, so she can talk to me whenever she wants. When I did talk to her, she goes, okay, I've got 10 minutes. Sesame Street finishes in 10 minutes. So I've got 10 minutes for you. How can I help? And so, you know, reconnecting can just be hey, we haven't talked in a while. How's everything going? It doesn't mean that you're then gearing up for a sales pitch. You might just be asking how they're going, and then creating an opportunity to help them rather than sell to them.
Yep. Yeah, I think when you have that a mindset of like service, helping other people, like, what we do is we help people. Like, we're either a business grow, you're helping an entrepreneur build a bit, like, attract people. Like, our service is in service of helping other people serve other people. And going in with the mindset of like, I just want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
I like this. Somebody that I talked to when I launched the 200K project, I was like, what's your secret to success? This person made almost 400,000 last year, and they asked to remain anonymous, which I was like, fair enough. Money is a funny thing in this world, and some people don't.
Very.
And
Congratulations to whoever that is. If you ever watch this, I am proud of you, and I don't know who you are. So well done to you.
So their big thing was always be as helpful as possible. Whether you get the job or not, like, help them find somebody else, help them realize that they shouldn't hire you. Like, whatever you do, help, serve, like, and those people will love you. And you never know if that's going to return something in return of like a project or a referral. But that does, it's like the Maya Angelou thing. Like, people might not remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
That's how we operate. And when you are helping people and serving people, then, like, it's that question of, is there any such thing as altruism? I like debating and thinking about it, but at the same time, I don't think that it's an answerable question, because if you're only nice because you might get something out of it in return, is it really altruistic or nice? It's like, I kind of don't care, because in the end, if we were all just helping people in hopes of maybe it returning sometime, maybe we would just be better off altogether. I'm a little
exactly
person, and if it's useful and not harmful, go for it. Like, that's kind of my filters.
Yeah, and I feel like, realistically, with the intention of helping you, like you're just going to keep going. It's knowledge and gratitude are the two most self-generating substances within our existence. I hope that you can all hear the little tippy taps of Chorizo running around because Rohan has just gotten home.
Oh,
And he's gonna walk behind here in 3, no, 2, no, 1, no.
hey. Oh,
Hi, baby. Hi.
that's my favorite down there. 3? No.
2, no, 1. Like, look, it was just accepting that it might not happen, but being hopeful that it would. But here's something that I have started kind of doing in that like in that mentality of recognizing that sometimes the client is not right for you, that you're not the right designer for them, and like passing on their work to someone else is often a thing. Or when they come back and go, oh, you're too expensive, or this is not what we wanted, or we've decided to go with someone else. There's nothing wrong with sending an email saying, not a problem, completely understand and really appreciate the opportunity to pitch the work to you and hopefully solve your problems. It's unfortunate we couldn't work together this time, and I wish you all the best and would love to hear an update of what happens when you launch. Like,
Yeah.
Right. Just because it's a no right now doesn't mean that it's a no forever. And if you've taken that extra second.
And when someone says, no, we can't afford you, a less appropriate response is, okay, fine, what can you afford? Please give me work. Like, you don't have to drop your rates just
No, please don't.
because
Yeah.
said they can't afford you. Now,
negotiate the deliverables, not the dollars.
yes, the price can drop, but it's all a big formula. So it's something
Exactly.
else to drop to.
So,
where you can get it if you want. But if you don't want or don't need to, you just say, all right, well, actually, it's interesting. So I've increased the price of my like base logo animation and had a lot more like no's come through lately. And I'm like, I'm fine with that. They're barely profitable at my like internal hourly rate. I put a lot of work into these. And so for like the average YouTuber might not be able to afford it as opposed to like a tech company and they're like, oh, that's a freaking steal. But I've been getting a lot of no's. But here's what's interesting is most people are like, whoa, that's more than I thought. I don't have that kind of budget right now, but I'll contact you when I do. And it's like people understand that like not everyone does. There are some
no.
those are the potentially good clients who might be like, I don't have that kind
They're
of budget.
the ones you want.
But I want what you can do, and so I'm going to save the money until I can afford you.
Yeah.
And
that means that they're actually going to see you as more valuable.
Yeah.
Which is the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I sent you before that when I came up with it, I was like, ooh, I'm going to be really interested in what his answer is. So if you were to pick a word to describe your career path so far, what is the word you would choose?
Adventurous.
Oh, I love that.
It has felt so adventurous. Like, a good adventure, you don't know exactly what you're going to do. And you feel like you're going out into the woods or into the desert, or maybe you don't know what's on the other side of that ridge. And while I've had specific dreams and goals that I haven't gotten to, every turn has been adventurous and turn new that I can get excited about. And I mean, like this, if anybody had asked me when I was a kid, is this what you would be doing? The one part of me could be like, yeah, I'm doing something tangential because I enjoyed animation, like Disney animation. These days, that's not a goal of mine. Like, that's nothing that I want to do. But I was like, I want to be I want to play sports for a living, or, the astronaut deal. But like, even in college, I didn't know this is a thing you could do. And who knows what I'll be doing 10 years from now. It's a big adventure.
It's interesting because when I thought about yours, I was like, it's evolution. Like that would be what I would have put for yours, is that like it's never stayed in one place. It's always been growing, moving, understanding what's going around. And that kind of feels very similar to adventure, with like with each step you're climbing or so going forward through whatever it is that you're trying to conquer. Or so I think it's interesting that the same kind of thing from both external and internal, which means that you're doing the thing.
I'm doing the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
So go make something move seems to be a catchphrase you've created for yourself. Is there more of a story behind that, or is it just really a situation of gone, it makes sense with go making things move with animation, but then it also prompts in a way that it's not like go and animate something. Like it's
Yeah,
tell me more.
making something move is not just animation, although that's an obvious tie-in, but it's like go make moves
Yeah.
in your life. Although maybe I like that more. Go make moves. Moves. I'll have to play. Go make something move. It's funny because I don't love it, but somehow the idea got to me that like I'd like to have something to sign off with, sign off on my emails, sign off on my newsletters and blog posts. And that's just what came to my mind. And you know how like you can get sick of your own brand, like the day you decide that it's done, that's what it is. It's kind of like that. Like I'm like I don't like that, but then people recognize it and miss it if it's gone, or I'm like okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's a thing.
Yeah, that's like my sign off's peace out, but piece of pie. So I got pie is it literally was like a picture I drew of like the money pie with a slice of pie with a dollar sign on the top. Like that was just something I drew, and I was like, pie. Pie's going to be a thing. Oh, okay. How does that evolve to the next thing or the next thing or the next thing, and kind of um, creating a platform or using food as a vehicle to teach the things that people don't necessarily um, like. Pricing is something that makes people feel uncomfortable. They figure that if they stop talking about money, the bad feeling goes away. So if you can then bake it into something, and make it so that they can be digesting it in a different way, it's really interesting to kind of see what comes from that.
That's great.
Yeah, and also food. So if you've ever been to any of my webinars, for the first 20 minutes, we just talk about our favorite foods.
That's wonderful.
It's, you have like your questions that you ask people when you first meet them, of like, your surface level, or what do you do for work, or what are your hobbies, or anything like that. But like if you start talking about what's your go-to comfort snack, or you've been given a couple of dollars and you can go and pick something from the chocolate bar aisle, what chocolate do you choose and why have you chosen that? Like those are really kind of questions that dig deep. And I'm going to throw it out there. If you have a couple of dollars and you get to choose something from the candy bar aisle, what are you choosing, Austin? What are you choosing? And why?
It's definitely going to be like well, there's, depending on my mood, but if I had to choose one that I always had to get, it would be a milk chocolate with caramel in the middle.
Something milk chocolate with something caramel?
Yeah. But
Okay.
an easy go-to for anybody who's like, I'm trying to pick up some snacks for Austin. Bueno bars, the Kinder chocolate.
Oh,
Bueno bars. It's like a hazelnut and like
yeah.
it's so good. I get this from like just lots of those. Anyway,
I love that. So it's just like, if you want to bribe me,
yeah,
fill something with Bueno bars and deliver it to my home. That
yeah.
would be great. Thank you.
I'm interested in like getting a PO box and making that public, and just
Yeah, branding for Bueno bars. Like,
yeah.
thank you. Mine's Kit Kat, and it's because it's nostalgia. And you can like portion it out. Like there's nothing worse than finishing a chocolate bar and you're like, oh, it's done.
It's so similar to a Bueno bar. I mean, like
Yeah.
they chunks and
And then like you leave the last bit and you like put it somewhere where you're like doing your work and everything like that. And then you're like, oh my God, I have one bit left. Yes. Um, I've had a couple of people like say, I choose something like a crunchy, so that I can enjoy it half an hour later when I'm picking it out my teeth.
oh my gosh, that's
Look,
clever.
it's all about the hidden reasons why you choose the chocolate bar that you choose. I
Mhm.
think everyone has and it seems to be very divisive. I actually have a friend of mine, Jamie, if you're watching. She when I said to her Kit Kat, she's like, "Who are you? What kind of sociopath likes Kit Kat as their favorite? What's wrong with you?" And it's so divisive, and I love that. It's so good. Awesome. Well, I'm going to have my last question, which is if you could go back and tell younger Austin something about pricing, what would you say to him?
I would say that I'll tell a story of when I went freelance, and then I'll tell a story of that. So when I went freelance, I was making before I went freelance, my job that I had, I think 45,000 was like the salary that I made. So that's US
Yeah.
dollar, 45,000. Um, it was it was good money. It wasn't amazing, but it was like, living in a small town, didn't need a ton of money. My wife also had
Mm,
a job. And so like we were doing fine. And so when I went freelance, I knew that you should charge more than what you were normal. Like I was making like I don't know what that equated to, about $100 a day or something around there. That's like what
yeah.
I remember that because I would go the days that I hated. I'm like, all right, it's $100. I'm just every hour I'm making, and I would like break it down. I'm like, okay, it's worth it because I can. What can I do with that? Just trying to justify why I'm still at work. um,
Yeah.
so you can get in your head that I'm worth $100 a day. Even though like if it's freelance, you got to pay more because you're doing your whatever. Like freelance, you got to charge more. But I had so little confidence in myself and that I could do the projects that might be coming my way that I undercharged because I was nervous. And I think my advice for myself back then would have been A, be a little bit more diligent about saving money before you go freelance, which we had some money saved. And so we weren't like in trouble when I
Mm,
went freelance, and my wife still had her job. So like that carried us. But I was always nervous about the projects coming in, like that space of if they say no, I might be screwed because who knows when the next one's coming in. And I think I would tell myself to I don't know the percentage, but charge a price that feels a little scarier than what you're charging or whatever. Like lean into what feels scary. I recently did the same thing. Like I quoted a price that was probably 7 times, 10 times more than what I charged back 5 years ago for the same kind of project. And that to me right now is scary. Uh,
mm,
it was, I mean, we're talking about money. It was like 3 videos, pretty big company, felt like a pretty big deal, like what they wanted the projects to do. I was going to develop the look and feel of their animations, and I pitched $49,000,
cool.
and it was going to be a few months worth of work. I know that if I was working at a studio, I probably wouldn't quite make that much or about that much for like 2 or 3 months of work. Anyways, so I was like doing the math. I'm like, it's what I want to make. It's worth it, I believe. But I've never charged that much for a uh, for a direct to client project. It scared me so freaking bad.
Yep.
I was like shaking when I hit send. I told Rachel, I was like, feel sick in my stomach. I'm like, I know it's worth it. I know that I would make it worth it. It would be amazing. And they didn't. They passed on it, but they're going with a bigger agency to get the work done. because
Which means they're probably paying more.
oh yeah, they're definitely going to pay somebody more money than what I pitched to them. But I
Yeah.
also put the price in such a way that if it turned out that we needed something special, that I could hire a designer to do something I can't do, or another animator, or hire somebody for music. And I remember back in the day being like, how do people hire music people? Like, only charging a couple thousand for a video that's taking me 6 weeks to make. Like, I don't understand. And it's because people
They
charge
have budget.
50, 40, 100, 150, 200, a million. Like, literally, 30-second videos can cost a range of 2,000 to 1.5 million, depending on what's getting done in the video and the budget.
Millions of factors.
Literally, like the range is outrageous. And so if you're timid about pricing, I'm telling myself, which I was timid about pricing, I was on the very, very low end. Now there are like the Fivers and the like way cheaper, like dirt cheap, you can't make a living off of. But obviously that's just not the way to go. But
Mm.
lean into the scary. It's okay to be rejected because more work will come if you're doing the work of connecting with people, doing relationship marketing. Like you are
Yeah,
connecting with people in your industry. I mean, I'm really rambling at this point, but
it's fine.
to me, I think it's such a crucial piece to make intentional connections with people in your industry. Whether you're doing design, animation, web, whatever it is, like connecting with people however you can. Uh, Obviously, like Twitter and Instagram is a place to meet people, but like taking courses and staying connected with people that were in your class in an alumni group, joining a membership. Like there are so many ways to connect with people. And if you're not
Hmm.
reaching out to people and interacting on the internet, like a lot of us don't live, well, now I do. I live in a hub, New York City. But for a long time, I lived in the rural mountains of North Carolina, and that's where I got started. But I was connecting with people. And literally, those connections have been everything for my career. I mean, like, I literally wouldn't have anything. I can tell you, I tried for 8 years. Well, let's call it 7 years. I got my job. I focused on the job, but then I was like, I want to do something else. And it took me 7 years before I could do anything else. But like, I didn't have any other options because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to connect with people. And eventually it was like, oh, I'm going to use Twitter. I'm going to use Instagram. And I started taking courses and I started connecting with people. And that's when I left my job and was able to make a living outside of this job that I didn't like because of those connections. But I tried for so many years trying to make it. And it didn't work until I was making those connections. And like,
Yeah,
it's just, I can't overestimate or overemphasize how important making connections with people in your industry is.
100%. Like I've got a client of mine who, because she's in uh, travel, so she works. Her product is a travel product, and so this last 2 years have been terrible for her. Thank you, dog. And so like it's been a bit of a process trying to get her to like diversify kind of diversify into different sections. But because she knows that my specialty is branding and brand awareness, it's about making sure that all the touch points are consistent and accurate and correct. When she does do other ventures and has been doing other ventures, I'm the first person in the back of her mind going, I can call on her because I know that that's going to be someone that I can trust and rely on. And it's got nothing to do with her original business. It's got nothing to do with what we've been working on so far. It's a new venture, and I'm top of mind because I kind of place myself there and make sure that that connection is nurtured, which means that it's more work without having to start from start.
What kind of things, what things have helped you make the deepest or best connections that have ended up being really profitable for your business?
Connecting on a personal level. Like I know that it's a thing that is, you have to be really careful with it because I've been burned in the past of like connecting too personally with a client and being part of their personal life, and then it becomes that they end up using friendship as a currency, and it happens. But it's also connecting with them in a way that, if it's their birthday, say happy, like send them a text saying happy birthday.
Yeah.
If they're launching something, or they've got something that's coming up that's got nothing to do with any of the work you've done, you just know that you saw that they won an award, or you saw that they had something, or you saw while you were out something that looked like a job you've worked on with them before, or that animal statue kind of looks like it could be a mascot that they've, like, just connecting with them on a personal level, and actually remembering that you're both human.
Yes.
That ends up massively impacting and massively creating and cementing those connections so that future work can blossom, really.
Here's something that I think that I'm starting to grasp. It's something, I don't know if it's like a superpower or just a regular power. You know how, like, what's your superpower? What's your genius? I think something that I do well is connect with clients. So, I mean, I love connecting with peers, friends, but when I'm talking to clients, it's almost like, I remember in high school, I was really good at talking with my friends' parents.
Me too.
That's like what it feels like kind of sometimes, like it's this like
So true.
older than me, but like I can vibe with that, and I can have a good conversation, and having real human conversations amongst a like real big boy job.
I got my big girl pants on, and I got a big girl job. It's like, you go and visit a friend's place, and you spend, the first 20 minutes at the dinner table talking with their dad because they have something to chat about.
Yeah. And I'm always thinking about, like, how can I help other people do what I have found success with. And so this is just one that's like starting to ruminate in my head. And I think that I'm good at the small talk. I think I'm good at kind of connecting with potential clients. So, I mean, sometimes I'm not, and we just don't end up being clients maybe. But like, I feel like that's something that's super crucial. Like if you're on a phone call with a client, a potential client, that you communicate well, that you connect, like that, literally that personal connection. It's nothing that I can quantify. I think there's something there, and I don't know how to package it up and go like, here's how you do that, because it is so contextual.
Yeah, and I feel like it could be even just if you haven't checked in with a client for a month, just check in to see how they're going. Or also a great one that I've found is that if you've got a new skill that you're learning, or you've got something that you're working on and you want it to be marketable. For instance, I did this with GIFs, animated GIFs on Instagram. So I was learning how to do them myself, and there's only so many you can do for yourself till it's like, hey, I'm looking to be hired for this, and here's my portfolio of only my work. So if you can then go to an existing client that you already have and say, hey, I'm experimenting with Instagram GIFs at the moment. This is a service that I'm thinking of offering in the future for X amount, but because you're a previous client, and because this is like a first example, I can do it at a different rate because I recognize that I'm still learning. You're setting like an expectation in the client and saying, hey, this might not be to the same standard as what my future will be, but this is what it will be now.
Yeah.
Is this something that you're interested in as a service? It doesn't have to be for free, right? Because it's starting out. It can be, this is what it will normally be costing, and I'm halving it for you because I'm recognizing that I'm not 100% there yet. Is this a service that you're interested in? So you're speaking to a warm audience because they're already using your services.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
And they feel kind of exclusive. They feel like, oh, yeah, I'm getting in on the ground floor.
Totally. Yeah, we love that.
Yeah. Client communications, and with the aim of help, always.
Yep.
Always. Wicked. Well, I know that I could be, sitting on here and having you chat well into the night.
Yep.
But I do actually have to do some work, which is completely theoretical. If you've ever seen any of my Instagram stories, you'll see the plethora
Yeah,
of sticky notes that surround my life.
they're
So that's what I'm going to be doing the rest of the afternoon.
rated. Yeah.
Oh, type A. So thank you so much for joining me, Austin. I really, really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to our future secret project that we keep having delayed, but it will happen.
And it was glorious.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So thank you so much for joining me, Austin. If anyone wants to watch the replay of this, it will be live on my, oh, sorry, it will be uploaded pretty much straight after this onto my IGTV. If you enjoyed this, please comment something that you really enjoyed, or a nugget of wisdom, or a slice of advice that you got out of this. And also, two more things. One, if you are interested in the bits and pieces that you've heard from Austin, I highly recommend you jump on his mailing list. How can they get on there, Austin?
You can go to fullharbor.com/200K.
Awesome. Wicked. I'm personally on the newsletter list, so I'm really looking forward to the email that's going to be coming out on Thursday.
Let's call it.
Cool.
I think
Yeah.
Nancy's been on this call for a bit. She's in Full Harbor membership, and she's someone that's been hearing me say I need to get this newsletter out. So
we're going to all hold you accountable.
gotta
Look forward to the email on
who
Thursday.
wants $100 if I don't get
it? And second, if you really like this pricing chat and you're wanting to learn a bit more about pricing, I have a Easy as Pie pricing downloadable in my bio, but also easyaspiepricing.com. If you want to grab the freebie, or I also have a mailing list as well. So DM me mailing list if you want to jump on my mailing list. And thanks so much for joining. Have a great day / night / morning, wherever you may be.
Excellent.
Thanks, Austin. Talk soon.
Bye. This is great.